Hi, I'm Kaivari. I thought I'd make this video to show you the different ships that are available in the game packages for Star Citizen. I'm going to be using details from Alpha 4.1 and Alpha 4.1.1 that are currently available as of today, April 18th, 2025. There is a free fly event going on this particular weekend, and actually through the next week. I believe it goes until the 28th. So you'll have an opportunity to get out and see if you like the game. Only one of the ships that I'm aware of are actually two of them. I should take that back. The Drake Cutter and the Anvil Arrow are available during the free fly event. You'll be seeing those a little later on. I'm running these in terms of the list that you get from the Robert Space Industries website when you sort by price. And first up on that list is the Mustang Alpha by Consolidated Outlands. They call it a light freight ship. I would consider it more of a fighter myself. It is $45 US. You get a starting 350 DPS from these two size 2 weapons on the front. You do have hard points placed to mount 2 additional size 1 weapons on the ship. I don't have it mounted on here because I don't use this ship a lot beyond just getting to and from. With start, it is 350 DPS. If you upgrade using a weapon called the Attrition, which is kind of the standard PvE weapon right now, you can reach up to 1,340 DPS. There are no missiles on this ship, unfortunately. For shields, which are very important in this game, you have 2 size 1 shields which generate 2,800 bubble shield. A bubble shield surrounds the ship in a little bubble. If it goes down entirely. Pretty much all of the game package starter ships have that same style of shield. Your ship HP, if you do lose your shields, is 9,231. Current speeds are 225 meters per second forward, boosts to 500, and outside of atmosphere in nav mode, which is how you jump to quantum. You can reach speeds up to 1,200 meters per second before you jump. Your pitch, yaw, and roll, and all these numbers are going to be measured in degrees per second, so how quickly they turn. 72.3 on pitch, 53.7 on yaw, and 205.3 in roll. This being a freight ship, it does have cargo capacity. It it can hold 4 SCU in this little cargo pod back here. And an SCU, I've got 2 different containers right here. This is a 1 SCU. It is 1 wide, 1 deep, and 1 tall. This would be a 2 at 1 wide, 1 tall, and 2 deep. This can hold either one of them. You do kind of have to get them lined up a little more perfectly than some other ships, but you get it lined up and you kind of just stuff it in there. It's not always the easiest. Sometimes I get it on my first try. Sometimes I have to get it lined up. You kind of have to get it over that lip. And this is not a great example, but this is one of the reasons why I don't really call this a freight ship too much. But once you get it lined up perfectly, it should just slide in there. It's not wanting to for me. It's going to fight me. There we go. Once you see the purple, you can just kind of push it forward. Maybe a little bit blue on your screen. You can go all the way forward, but as you can see, you can hold 4 deep, and that's the neat trick with this guy, is it can definitely hold a little bit of cargo, more than its competitor. You do have internal storage, in case you don't have a container to put some loot in. If you happen to go out doing bunkers, you just go to the ladder and you hit open storage. Holds 950,000 micro SCUs, a million micro SCUs makes a SKU, so it's just under a SKU. In terms of your transport, you have, or fuel for transport, you have 6 SCUs of hydrogen, which is a decent amount, and 1.1 of quantum fuel. The majority of the starters are right around that in terms of quantum fuel. With most of the quantum drives that you can get in the game right now, for this size of ship, that's going to get you anywhere from about 98 from what I would recommend to about 150 gigameters, which gets you all around Stanton and across Pyro. Within Pyro, you're going to want to fuel up a little bit more often. This ship does have one of the best cockpits in terms of view. You can definitely see all around you. You can see your enemies. It's a good view ship, and it's fast, it's nimble, it's pretty nice. The biggest problem that I have is when you look to your left, you'll see exit ship. Look to the right, there's nothing. On some of the other variants of the Mustang Alpha, you can actually get inside of the cabin of the ship. On some of them, they actually have a little living quarters in the back. This trades out that cargo container for it. But that space in the back you cannot currently get to in any way. The problem with that is you cannot stand up and eat or drink anything. And you do have to eat and drink. Call in time, if you happen to get separated from your ship, for any reason, if it gets blown up, you go up with friends and they drop you off at a random station. You can call this ship in 40 seconds. If you pay 340 credits as of right now, that expedites to 0 seconds, so it's an instant call-in. This ship can be made somewhat stealthy. I'm not going to go over all of the numbers because they don't match what I read in-game versus what the websites say about it. But stock, it's infrared, electromagnetic, and its cross-section signatures are pretty high. The infrared is just the heat that comes off the ship. Electromagnetic is obviously the power usage and generation of the ship, and your cross-section is just the visual of it. The lower you can get the numbers, the less you can be seen, which is a very handy thing. Especially getting out in the verse where there are people who have bigger, badder ships, both NPC and player alike. But this ship can definitely get you doing bounties. You can do some pretty decent bounties in this. I've done some minor combat in it. You can do bunker runs definitely with this, especially with the fact that you have that cargo container, which does open from both sides. So you can access storage containers to put loot in from either side and store that up pretty well. So it's a great kind of all-arounder, with the one downer of not being able to eat or drink. So you have to get yourself someplace that's got atmosphere, either a station or someplace that's got a pressurized area, to be able to eat or drink. It's not too difficult, but if you get too much into the excitement, you can find yourself dehydrated really quickly. But that is the CO Mustang Alpha, our first ship we're going to look at. The next one up is the RSI Aurora MR. For $45 as well, you're going to get 233 DPS due to 2 size 1 weapons. You do have additional mount points. I believe it's right here on these wings. I've never put them on myself. For 2 additional size 1 weapons, which will get you, if you upgrade to attritions, about 1,072 DPS. One advantage over the Mustang is you do have 2 size 1 missiles right up in here, which is going to give you a little bit of extra boost to damage. For cargo, you do have a little cargo bay right here. It kind of flips your containers upside down. It has 3 spots, so it's 1 by 3 wide for up to 3 SCUs. So not the biggest cargo, but definitely something that you can get around and do a little bit of hauling with. For your shields, you have 3700 bubble shield due to 2 size 1 shield generators. That can be upgraded to give you a little bit more. If you lose your shields, you're going to have 5,740 ship HP, a little bit lower than the Alpha. Current speeds in 4.1 are 225 meters per second forward, which boosts to 450. Outside of atmosphere, you're going to reach up to 1,200 meters per second. Your pitch yaw roll is 46, 46, 140. Now, when 4.1.1 hits, hopefully at the end of the month, this is going to get a little bit of an upgrade in its speed. It's going to go to 227 meters per second forward, boosting to 470, and your nav speeds outside of atmosphere will be 1,230. You'll gain a little bit of pitch and yaw at 59 and 51, but you're going to lose a little bit of roll down to 137, which isn't a detrimental number. Another advantage over the Mustang Alpha is the interior space. I always jump because I have a hard time getting on that bottom step. You actually have an interior so you can eat and drink, and one of the things that some of the other ships that we're going to go over have is a bed. And the handy thing with the bed is the ability to bed log. It says I can't log out because I'm in a landing area, but if you were out in amongst the stars and you were done adventuring and wanted to log out for the night, you could lay in your bed, log out, and come right back to your ship the next time you log in. The hard part with the Mustang Alpha and some of the other ships that don't have an interior or don't have a bed is if you log out, you're going to find yourself back at the nearest station, and your ship will be out in the verse somewhere without you. So you'll have to end up calling it in. This does not currently have internal storage. It does say storage there, so hopefully that will come soon. Who knows? We may even see that in 4.1.1. Just not published yet. Your seat. And squeeze around here. Good thing I haven't put on too much weight. I would love to see that thing swing around, but you do have a really good visibility. You do have RSI's infamous support struts for the windows. I'm hoping one day they'll clean these up because there's not many ships that have as many struts as the RSI ships, but it's still pretty visible. I have been out in this for some combat, and I keep an eye on vehicles. I've also used this as a stealth get around ship, fully stealth componented with still, man, I cannot English. With full stealth components, it does become pretty quiet. It's not as invisible as a full stealth ship, but still pretty quiet. Very usable ship. If you do happen to get separated, it's got a pretty quick call-in time of 2 minutes and 55 seconds. Can be expedited for 1,631 credits down to 58 seconds. For fuel, you do have a little bit less hydrogen than the Alpha at 4.5 SCUs, but a similar quantum fuel of 1.1. One downer with this ship is that it does not come with a jump drive. The jump drives are used to get back and forth between the different star systems using the jump gateways. You just have to pick up a jump drive and attach it, and they are available at the gateway stations. So it's kind of unfortunate that it doesn't come with it, but it's not like a massive deal breaker because you can buy one and put it in. They're not too expensive. You just have to do a few missions to earn it. I think they're 40 to 60,000 credits. But then you just put it on the ship and you're good to go everywhere. All around a very, very useful ship. Between the Mustang Alpha and the Aurora MR, the two $45 ships, I generally will recommend the Aurora. Having the interior space, being able to eat and drink when you're out on your adventures, being able to bed log, the accessibility of the cargo grid being outside the ship like that allows you to load up really fast and get back on your adventures a little bit quicker. The wings, you don't have to wait for wings to fold down or anything like that. It's only a few seconds, but sometimes a few seconds counts. It is not as combat capable in terms of offensive, just a little bit less DPS. I mean, fully loaded up, it's about 300 DPS lower, but it is a more stealthy ship, so you can get out of target lock a little bit better. In terms of its flight capabilities, I also feel like it's easier to learn on. So if you're looking at the $45 ships, I will generally recommend the Aurora over the Alpha, but if you want to do more ship-to-ship combat, the Alpha is going to be a little bit better for you. But there are some ships that are not too much more expensive, and they do give you some other advantages. And we're going to start with the Anvil C8X Pisces Expedition. At $60, this gets you 400 DPS from the factory due to 4 size 1 weapons, 2 on the front and 1 on either wing. This does have 2 size 1 missiles, 1 on either side of the ship. You're able to soften up the targets a little bit before you start pelting on them. It has only 1 size 1 shield generator, which gets you 1,280 bubble shield. If that goes down, you're going to have 6,250 ship HP to survive with. Your speeds are going to be 220 meters per second in normal forward speeds, which can be boosted to 460 pretty quick. outside of atmosphere nav mode, you are going to go 1,150. This is more maneuverable than the Aurora at 60, 60, 150 on our pitch, yaw, and roll. This does have 4 SCUs of cargo. It is internal on the ship. You'll have to bring in your container and not hit the ramp like that. With a small opening, this can be sometimes a little bit tricky. Normally, I'm a lot better at this. And when it wants to lock, it'll lock right there. And you have one on either side of the ship. You do have space for 2 friends to go ahead and come along with you, as well as your seat here with a pretty good view. This has a decent amount of hydrogen fuel at 3.2, but where it shines is the quantum fuel. It has 1.8 SCUs, so you can get a lot farther in this than many of the other starter package ships. Call-in time on this, if you get separated, is 3 minutes, 21 seconds, can be expedited to 1 minute, 7 seconds for 1,806 credits. You do have a bit of a high signature starting out, but like the other ships, you can make this pretty stealthy. I've taken this out in combat. Against smaller ships, it's okay. Big ships, it's kind of a run in, sting, and run back out. Where I think this shines is more doing the bunkers, because you're able to bring friends with you. You have a decent amount of cargo space, so it can do a bit. Where it is a little bit of the downer is it does not have a bed. Meant more as like a shuttlecraft than anything else. And there is no current internal storage. So those are things the bed will probably never see, but hopefully we will get some internal storage pretty soon on this thing, so it can be comparable to most of the other ships. There is one ship, though, within this price bracket that I think is a little bit better, and that is the Drake Cutter. So this is the standard cutter. At $60, you're going to get 350 DPS due to 2 size 2 weapons up front. There are 2 size 2 missiles on the ship. I'm not exactly certain where they are. I don't see them, but they do fire out. I've had this out in combat a bit. This was the ship that I took out on my first free fly event. You have, just like the Pisces, you have 1 size 1 shield, which is unfortunate. It gives you 1500 bubble shield. Shields are upgradable though. But it only has 1 slot for them. These engines are currently in VTOL mode. They do swing to go forward. If your shield fails, you're going to have 17,100 ship HP. So it's a tanky ship. It could take a bit of a beating, which is very handy for being out there when you first start. Your forward speed is a little bit slower than the other ships at 180 meters per second. Boosts to 380, which isn't horrible. You have 1,010 meters per second in nav mode outside of atmosphere. So I like the speeds on this. It's great for learning. Your pitch yaw roll is a little bit lower than the other ships, 36, 36, 100. So it's not the most maneuverable, but if you're not used to space flight or flight games in general, this is actually a really great ship to learn on. Super fast ships can be a little tough to get used to, especially on mouse and keyboard. It can throw you off a bit with how fast and fidgety some of the other ships can be. One of the things I really like about this ship is its cargo area. It is a 4 SCU just like the Anvil Pisces, but what it can do that most of the other little ships can't is carry the new ATLS Geo. This is a little mining exosuit. Currently not purchasable in game. You'd have to buy it on the store. It's an additional $45, I believe it was. There was a war bond deal for it for like $40, so I did buy one. And then you can put about 9 is my estimate of the pods that go inside the backpack for this thing. So you can get out and do some mining with this if you don't mind spending the extra off the bat. This will likely come out in a future patch as buyable in-game, so you don't actually have to spend money on it. But that makes this ship that much more useful. You can get to doing some cargo to start. You can do a little bit of bounties and go out and do bunkers with this thing. And once this is in game, you can buy this in game and start doing mining. There's 3 tiers of mining right now. I'm not going to go too much in detail, but there's hand, vehicle, and ship minables. This does hand and vehicle, so very handy to have. When you got all of your components here, for the most part, there are a couple in the cockpit. This is the first ship that has a bathroom, has a toilet. Apparently can't sit on it, but some of the toilets you can sit on. There's no use for the bathroom yet. You do have a shower, sink. It is in the game, but not terribly useful at the moment. You do have a bed for bed logging. You have a storage here, which gives you 900,000 micro SEUs. Little shelf for knickknacks right here. I'm gonna say ship, but it's a shelf, ship in the shelf in the ship. Say that 5 times fast. Then we come into the cockpit where you are going to have life support and avionics. We don't currently have those in the game yet. You do also have a weapons rack here to be able to put some additional weapons. From your pilot seat, you do have a pretty good view of everything. Not as good as like the Aurora, but still pretty good. The Aurora and the Mustang definitely do have a little bit better view. I think this is a little bit better than the Pisces. Your fuel on this is definitely higher than the Pisces. You have 12 SCUs of hydrogen, which is why I really recommend it for going out in a geo. You can fly around a planet and find minables. You can fly between bunkers, stack up two SCU containers in there. It is vertical. It's a 1x2x2 tall. The quantum though is lower than the Pisces at 1.1 SCUs, so you're not going to get as far in this without having to refuel. Call-in time is very similar, 3 minutes and 22 seconds. Can be expedited for 2,280 credits to 1 minute 7 seconds. Oddly enough, your IR and EM can be made a little bit lower than the Pisces on this if you stealth component this ship out. Which is not difficult to do. So you can stealthily run around and do a bunch of stuff in this, and that is really, really handy, especially for something that you can go out and do some mining in. You don't have to worry about being spotted as much, especially if you decide to go out to Pyro, where PvP is kind of an open event. But also, NPCs can spawn, especially if somebody is doing a bounty. So lower signature means less likelihood of you getting blown up for something that you're not even involved in. But there is one more ship within the $60 range, and that would be the Origin 100i. It's a fancy ship. I think it's reminiscent of ships from like the Orville, just with the sweeping lines and all the white on it. I think is what probably gets it, as well as a little bit of the design of the Origin name. From the factory for $65, you're going to get 582 DPS due to 2 size 3 weapons, one on either side. This does also have 2 size 2 missiles that are tucked away. If you upgrade these to attritions, you're going to reach 1,087 DPS. This unfortunately only has 1 size 1 shield, giving you from the factory 1,500 bubble shield. Your speeds are a little bit faster than some of the other ships. Oh, I should mention the ship HP, if that shield goes down, is 3,900. So considerably less than the Cutter and even less than the Pisces. Your speeds, though, are a little bit faster. 260 meters per second forward, 610 boosted, and up to 1,425 meters per second outside of atmosphere. Your pitch yaw roll is 50-50, 195, so it is a fast and maneuverable ship. Has a great little view from the inside. Inside you have a bed, you have a cargo bay in here. I have tried to get a 2 SCU container in there. I can get it in and it kind of comes across here, but I can't turn it to put it in there. So you are stuck with doing 2 single SCU containers, and you kind of have to put them up, nudge them side, get in, and it's a little bit of an acrobatics thing. You do have some of your components here, but currently there is no internal storage. From the pilot seat, You do have a great view. So you would be able to see your enemies pretty well, get out there and do some fighting. For our fuel, you have 6.5 SKUs of hydrogen and 1.3 of quantum. So not as much hydrogen as the cutter, but a little bit more quantum fuel. Your call-in time, 3 minutes, 21 seconds. Can be expedited to 1 minute, 7 seconds, same as the other two $60 ships, for 1,858 credits. This can also be made to be pretty stealthy, so you can sneak in and do some stuff. You can do some bunkers in this, some light combat in it. I can do a whole lot of much else. It's not really good for cargo. You may be able to get out and do some hand mining in it. There's not a lot that this is terribly good at beyond looking absolutely amazing. I have seen people out doing combat with it. I didn't have as good luck with it, I think just because I'm not as good with the super fast ships. But that's a practice makes me better thing, and I don't practice enough with it. So all around, out of your $60 ships, I really recommend the cutter, especially with the addition of the Geo to the game. You're able to get out and just do that much more. Having the bed is a huge thing. The Pisces and the 100i do not have internal storage yet. The cutter does, so you have a little bit more storage options at nearly another SCU of storage. You can do some combat with it, but it's a good all-arounder. But if you want to do more fighting, the expedition, the Pisces expedition, or the 100i is likely going to be a little bit better fighting ships. It kind of, again, depends on what you want to do. I like the cutter. I like the design of it, and I like the usability of it. That's a key thing. And it is currently available during the free fly event. So if you want to get out and check it out before you buy, now is a great time to do it. And that does go to April 28th. So this video may not age that well, but next up, we're going to jump into the $75 to $80 range of ships. And we're going to start with the Aegis Avenger Titan. This is a little bit of an older ship, so you're going to see some wonkiness, but it is a good ship. At $75, you get a starting DPS of 1,424. That's due to this honking size 4 Gatling gun and 2 laser cannons that are size 3s. If you upgrade all 3 of these to attritions, you're going to hit about 1,724 DPS, which is pretty good. This has 4 size 2 missiles, 2 underneath each wing. So you get a little bit more combat capability. We finally jump back up to having 2 shield generators, giving us 3,700 shield from the factory, which is really handy amount of shield. If those go down, you're going to have 11,900 ship HP, which is a good amount for something that can do a good amount of combat. Our speeds are going to be 260 meters per second forward, boosts to 610 with a top speed in nav mode outside of atmosphere of 1,425. So same speeds as the Origin 100i, despite being a bigger ship. Your pitch, yaw, and roll are 52.5 by 48.5 by 180. So it is a very maneuverable ship. And if I can find the button, it's a floating button because it's an older ship. Inside, we are going to find 8 SCUs of cargo space. I didn't grab my cargo container for this one, but it's 2 wide, 1 tall by 4 deep. The bad news with this cargo space is it is from that little ridge to that little ridge. So when you have cargo in here, you cannot get in through the back door. The good thing, we'll use it, is there is a ladder up front. So if you load that with cargo, you can come back around here and hop right up into the pilot seat, where you will have a pretty good view because of the nice clear cockpit glass. So you will have exit ship and exit seat. This is what you're missing in the Mustang Alpha. So if we exit seat, it's actually going to take us into the back. Currently, there is no internal storage. On a lot of these ships, they like to put it below the bed, but they could also put it in there. You do have a bed you have some of your components. Nothing is accessible as of right now. This is an older ship due for some upgrade passes. I'm going to guess that this is going to be, or this is going to be your engineering panel, neither of which are set up yet and the gameplay's not in. But we're probably going to see some of our components come in here. It's just not there yet. For fuel, you have 9 SCUs of hydrogen, 1.1 of quantum fuel. So pretty similar to a lot of the other ships. Being something that's a little bit more combat oriented, we are going to see a little bit more hydrogen. I've noticed that with a lot of the ships. If you get separated from this ship, it has a 4-minute, 3-second cooldown, which can be expedited for 2,343 credits down to 1 minute and 21 seconds. Unfortunately, because of the way that this is designed, I haven't been able to get the geo, and it also just is not tall enough to get the geo into it. So you're not going to be doing mining or anything with this. This is going to be a bounty ship. It's going to be a bunker run ship, and you can do some cargo in it. With the combat capabilities and defensive capabilities, this is a very, very useful ship. You can get around and do a lot in this. This is a multi-role ship. And I have referred to it though as the Flying Penguin. It's kind of a interesting design language on it, but I think it's pretty cool. The next ship in the lineup is completely different than this. Oh, your stealth attributes, you can get this pretty stealthy without having to lose out on anything important, which is handy. The next ship, just following the price language, is completely different, and that is the Drake Golem. So this is the first game package ship that is a occupation specific. Actually, I think it's the only current one. It is a mining vessel, so it's completely different from the rest of the ships. For $75, you get a whopping 234 DPS due to 2 size 1 guns. There are 2 size 1 missiles right here down below, so you can do a little bit of a shock and awe campaign because they may not be expecting that from you. Your ship, your shields are, thanks to 1 size 1 shield generator, 1,850 from the factory. If you lose those shields, you are going to have 17,300 ship HP, which is quite a bit for a little guy like this. It's actually a little bit smaller than the Aurora, believe it or not. Maneuverability, speed-wise, we are looking at 203 meters per second, which will boost to 280. Outside of atmosphere, which is where this thing is probably going to live most of its life, it'll do 1,010 meters per second in nav mode. Pitch, yaw, roll is surprisingly agile at 43, 43, 140, which is very handy when you're trying to get around rocks and do mining. It has 32 SCUs of storage. It's in 2 size 16 or 16 SCU ore bags. So these only hold ore, which get mined up thanks to a mining head that's up top there. Internal storage, they call it external for most listings, but it's internal on the ship, is here, and that gets you 900,000 micro SCUs of storage. So you do have a good amount of storage here. This does have weapons racks. It has 2 pistol size, which you can use for mining attachments, cargo, tractor beams, things like that, and then a large one on this side. Cockpit is a single-seater, so this does have the disadvantage of the Mustang Alpha and similar kind of ships where there is no interior space to eat or drink. That's not too big of a problem in this because, in my experience, and I have done quite a bit of mining in this now, you're only out for 15 to 20 minutes and then you have to go to a refinery and unload your bags. So you're going to be going into someplace that has atmosphere kind of frequently when you're in this. But you have a decent amount of view here, which is very handy when you're flying about and finding rocks to go mine. Your fuel, you have 24 SCUs of hydrogen, which you will use hydrogen the majority of the time you're using this. You'll find yourself into an asteroid belt mine, then you're going to jump back to go unload. For jumping back and forth from whatever refinery station you're working from, you have 0.95 SCUs of quantum. The least amount of quantum fuel I have yet seen in anything. So you're not going to be traveling super far in this. You can get across Stanton. You can likely get across Pyro a little bit. You're going to want to jump station to station though. But the advantage with this thing being so small is if you have a friend that has a larger ship, or if you decide to buy a larger ship in game, this will fit inside of a lot of larger ships. I have a C2 Hercules, which is a large cargo ship, and I could fit a couple of these in there, along with spare bags. So I could go out mining for quite a while. This will fit inside of ships like the Polaris, the upcoming Ironclad. I believe this will fit in like the 890 Jump. Lots of ships that have hangars, this will fit in. So if you have friends that have large ships, you can go do mining trips with them in this. If you look at the websites like Urkel and SC Ships Performance Viewer, they will tell you that this can get very stealthy. My experience is the IR output on this stays to where you can see it out from about 10 kilometers. I do have this fully stealthed out, and this is also not the stock paint on it. The stock paint is black with yellow stripes all the way down around it. But as a starter ship, if you want to get out and make money, the lowest that I have made refining and using the best turnout on terms of turning it from ore to sellable materials takes about 24 hours, but for 32 SU, my low end has been about 90,000 credits. My high end has been 150,000 credits. The bummer right now, this will change in 4.1.1, is you do need a cargo ship to unload the refined ore into in order to take it out and sell it. So you will either need to rent something or have a buddy come help you to unload. In 4.1.1, the refineries are supposed to be able to unload to the station inventory. You will still end up needing a cargo ship to carry it. If you choose to just sell your ore straight out, it's going to be the fastest way to make money, but it's lower yield. I was making between 30 and 45,000 credits for 32 SCUs of some of the higher end materials. For getting into the game and making money really easily off the bat, this is a really great ship. I believe there's still a war bond up for it, so you don't have to pay the full $75 price. I don't know how long that's going to last. So if it's something you're interested in, it might be something to consider. $75 can be a lot. I think the war bond price was in the $60 range. But it's a great all-around ship. Stealthed out. I've even taken this and met up with some buddies doing bunkers. So you can definitely fly around and do some stuff with it. But it is kind of occupation specific. If you find yourself separated or you run into an asteroid, as I have a couple of times and blown this thing up, it has a 3-minute call-in time, which can be expedited for 1,030 credits to 45 seconds. So it comes back to you pretty quick if you end up losing it, or if you did like I did and left this out of the station and had to call it in to record this. I was able to get it back pretty quickly. That leads us into the last of the ships that I have put into this little bracket, and that would be the Crusader Intrepid. Honestly, one of my favorite ships in the game, and this is my game package. This ship at $80 gets you 436 DPS due to one size 4 laser repeater right here. If you upgrade that to an attrition, you can achieve 815 DPS. You do have 2 size 1 missiles tucked in here, so you're able to do a little bit of damage. It's not really meant as a dedicated fighter. It's considered a light freighter. You do have 1 size 1 shield generator, which gives you from the factory 1500 bubble shield. If that fails, you have 15,350 ship HP, which is decent. Your forward speed is 227 meters per second. It boosts to 455. Outside of atmosphere, you're going to be doing 1,225 meters per second in nav mode. You do have 8 SCUs of cargo. On these 1x4 little drop down cargo grids. Your pitch, yaw, roll, I did forget to mention that, is 48 by 48 by 145. So pretty nimble, not the most nimble, but it is pretty maneuverable. I've been able to get myself out of fights in it pretty well. It does have, I feel, one of the more complete interiors for a starter ship. It's a little bit nicer than a lot of the other ones as well. You do have access here to your cargo grids from inside, so if you put a store all container in here, you can access it from here without having to be outside of the ship, which is very handy. Oop, I hit the button in here, which does drop down the cargo bay. And now it doesn't terribly want to let me see it. There it is, so we can close that up. Not really meant as an additional entrance, but if this is open, you can get in and out. I have, and you have access on both sides. Moving forward, we have the quarters. You're able to put large weapons like a rail cannon, large sniper rifle stuff there. You have rifles and pistol size weapon access there. So you can put like your tractor beam, put med guns, all sorts of stuff there. You do have spot for 1/8 SCU containers or armor containers, something like that. You can tuck those away. You have an armor locker here. It's not currently functional in the game, but eventually we will be able to hold our full kits of armor there. You have a storage above the bed, which is 1.5 million micro SCUs. So 1.5 SCUs of storage right above your bed. That is a lot of storage. You have your bed for bed logging. You have a complete bathroom in here, toilet, shower, toilet pops out. You have a mirror, which does not show my face. I don't know who that is. And then you got your sink. No idea what that is. Bidet, controls, who knows. You have a little seat and table with some cup holders so you can sit and enjoy a nice quiet meal while you're out in the verse. You have your refrigerators. I'm going to guess that's a water heater. Don't know. It says ready and cleaning. Then you have the most important thing to any Crusader pilot, your espresso maker. Singles, doubles, right there, ready to go to keep you alert and out in the verse. Coming forward into the pilot seat, you have a pretty good view, which you'll get to enjoy flying around quite a bit with the 26 SCUs of hydrogen fuel and the 1.8 SCUs of quantum. This is a good adventure ship. It's called a freighter. I think it's a little bit more of an exploration ship. I have done planetary exploration. There's some current missions where you have to do some hunting. And I've been able to do that with this. This is a very low profile, and when you upgrade it, it has really good stealth attributes. So you can get in and do bunkers and sneak in. I've done rescue missions for friends in this. Doesn't have a med bed or anything like that, but with a med gun, you can definitely pick your buddies up and save them. If you end up separated from your ship, it has a 5-minute, 40-second call-in time, which can be expedited for 1,850 credits, down to 1 minute and 25 seconds. So you can get back out there pretty quick. Within the $75–80 range of ships, I really can recommend the Intrepid, but if you want something that's more combat capable ship to ship, you're probably going to want to go with the Titan. It can also hold a little bit better cargo container sizes than the Intrepid because it can hold up to a size 4, which is a 2x2. This doesn't hold cargo as easily because you can only do up to the size 2s, the 1x2s, and that's kind of it. But all in all, I really do enjoy this. I know I'm not giving flight examples, but I also like the sounds that this makes. It makes kind of like hot roddy race car-y sounds, and it's really fun to get in and fly around. It's very enjoyable. The Golem is completely separate. If you want to get out and do an occupation, the Golem is great. It's a great ship to get out in. Like I said, I fly mine quite a bit. It's been a good little money maker for me lately where I get to get out and just kind of do a little chill gameplay. So I don't think you can go wrong with any of the three. Just kind of know that if you go with the Intrepid, you're going to have to be a little bit more careful how you do bounties. But if bounties are your thing, then you're probably going to want a fighter. And that brings us to the Gatac Syulen. I've heard it pronounced many different ways, but for $85, you're going to get a fighter vessel that's capable from the factory of 837 DPS from 3 size 3 weapons, one on each of the sides of the ship. It is kind of a triangular based ship. There are 4 size 2 missiles on each of the arms here that the legs go onto, and there's some nice alien writing. This is, as you can tell, not a normal design ship. This is an alien design. But on top of the damage you can do, you have 2 size 1 shield generators, which from the factory give you 3,000 bubble shield. If you lose those shields, you're going to have 11,740 DPS. A lot of it is in these little arms, wings, whatever you want to call them, which is where your thrusters are. So your primary thrusters are on these. If you lose them, you are going to end up with some interesting control. You'll start to get what we call a torque imbalance, and it won't want to fly straight. Gets a little interesting. It is capable of 225 meters per second in forward speeds, 450 boosted, and as always in the outside of atmosphere in nav mode, you will reach 1,175 meters per second. And this looks like it goes from top to bottom. That's because it does. This is a very unique ship. Oh, it's still open from the last time I was showing somebody the ship. You got components here. That is the door control. Some more components here. These are your power plant, quantum drive, jump drive, coolers, all sorts of interesting bits. You got a weapons rack here and an armor rack. The weapons racks do work. The armor rack does not. Whoop. Coming upstairs, you have your bed, your bathroom, and I really do like the design of the bathroom. I like the waterfall sink. You got hot and cold knobs or buttons, I'm not certain which, and I would see that water coming down from that slot as a waterfall. That is really neat in my opinion. Your toilet is tucked away inside of the wall, so as your toilet paper comes on out, so that you can use the shower head here and shower without getting everything all wet. Underneath the bed, you do have a small amount of ship storage. You have 250,000 micro SEUs right here, so you can store some stuff inside. You do have a little table, I think, to eat and drink. There's a button here that says open. It doesn't seem to do anything. No matter how I have tried, it doesn't want to work. And I'm going to guess that opens the seat, which looks like is right there. What's the point in having a table if you can't sit down? Once we go up to the 3rd floor, we're going to find our pilot seat and a couple more component spots for fuses. That'll be probably our avionics and life support. When you pop into the pilot seat, it does something different than any other ship. We're going to flip upside down and go straight up. So this is a vertical takeoff ship. So it does, I think, technically have VTOL capability, but essentially it is VTOL because you are going to take up by just going forward, and it will take you off, take you straight up. And then if you're in a hangar that is not a vertical one like this, you'll have to nose down in order to get out the door. So it's a little bit of different control. You do have a good amount of hydrogen, like a lot of the fighters. It has 40 SCU, so quite a considerable amount there, with 1.1 SCU of quantum fuel. So you can get out and do some adventuring, and I have taken this out and done some missions in it. If you end up separated from your ship, it has a 2-minute, 57-second call-in time, which can be expedited for 2,000 credits down to 1 minute and 6 seconds. This is a stealth variant, and my measurements on it show it to be pretty stealthy, which is handy. I did forget to mention the outside cargo. It has 6 SCUs. You can put 1 and 1. They kind of stair step, and then they get protected by those when you're in flight. Drop down a little bit. So it's 6 SCU in total. So not really a cargo ship, but you can do bunkers and put some storals out here to be able to put your loot in and get out and get adventuring in it. It is a fighter ship, and it's considered more of like a light fighter. It is a little bit bigger of a physical target, but if you're a good fighter pilot, it'll probably be real good for you. Having the interior is kind of unique on a fighter ship. Most of the fighters don't have an interior like this, so that is kind of a handy thing with it. But there is another ship within the fighter ship lineup that is available as a game package, and that is the Anvil Arrow. At $90, it is a fighter ship. That's going to bring you 854 DPS. This is due to 2 size 1 and 2 size 3 weapons. Size 1s are tucked away up on top. Size 3s are down below. The wings do fall down. You do have 6 size 2 missiles. 1 size 1 shield generator gives you 1730 bubble shield to start. And these are upgradable, so you can do a little bit more. You do have a little bit more speed than the Syulen at 232 meters per second forward, boosts to 515 in nav mode, and outside of atmosphere, you're going to do 1,210 meters per second. You do have better pitch yaw roll at 74, 55, 189. You do have some internal storage, which is accessible, like the Mustang, right at the ladder, for 430,000 micro SCUs. So you can go out and do bunkers and loads a little bit of stuff in here. Inside, you're going to have a pretty good view because it is a fighter ship. Ladder pops out, you pop up in. Your fuel on this, you have 7.5 SKUs of hydrogen, 1.1 of quantum fuel. A ship like this, you're going to be coming out and doing a bit of battle, likely going in, getting repair, rearm, to get, flares and missiles and everything restocked before you go back out fighting. So it's not bad. There's no eating or drinking inside the ship. So if you need to eat or drink, you definitely want to go back for restock. If you get separated from this ship, it's got a 5-minute, 16-second call-in, which can be expedited to 1 minute 45 seconds for 3,121 credits. It's a pretty good fighter. I am not big on the fighter ships. I have had both out to fight. This being nimble, you're able to survive a little bit longer, I think, than in the Syulen. But you have no interior. So it's less of a livable ship. It's meant more, I think, for squadron fighting, going out with friends. Between the two, I would recommend you save your money and get the Aegis Avenger Titan if you really wanted a fighter. The Titan is capable of more damage, has better health, better shield, has cargo. It can do more. If you really want a hyper nimble fighter, these can be good. I think that there's some better fighters out there in the game. You need a game package and you want a fighter, I would almost recommend getting one of like the Auroras and then buying one of the other fighters that are in the game. That's kind of my opinion, but I'm not as much of a fighter, so your mileage will vary. After this, we're going to actually jump up into a different style of ship. It's only $5 more than the Arrow, but it is completely different. The Consolidated Outlands Nomad. Now, this is often referred to as the space pickup truck, and we'll show you why in just a second. But at $95, when you manage your power, you can reach up to 708 DPS. This is thanks to 3 size 3 weapons. You got one down below, and the other 2 are up above. These can be swapped out with attritions if you wanted to reach 1,629 DPS, which is pretty respectable. It does have 8 size 2 missiles tucked away on either side of the ship. It does have 3 size 1 shields, which from the factory gives you 4,500 bubble shield. If those go down, you don't have a whole lot of ship health at 9,800, so keep them shields up as much as you can. Forward speeds are 205 meters per second, boosts to 450. Outside of atmosphere in nav mode, you will reach up to 1,100 meters per second. Your pitch yaw roll is 45, 45, 120. Around back, you do have a cargo bay, which is capable of holding 24 SCUs. The other handy thing, this is the first ship that you can put something like a rock mining ship in. You can also put the Geo. Best to back it in so that you can get in and out of it. I didn't park it super well, so it's kind of wanting to adjust itself a little bit here. That should be a little bit better. And this is the first ship that has a tractor turret for loading and unloading the cargo bay, which is a very handy thing. But you can load up a rock and go mining on this. You can haul cargo up to 24 SCUs on the grid. I know people have gotten it more than that. I believe it'll hold up to an 8 SCU container, which is a I don't like how it does that, but supposedly it stays just fine. It's trapped by the tractor beam. A 2x2x2 tall is the 8 SCUs. This also is the only ship that I have seen so far that uses hover tech, so it never actually touches the ground. To get into the ship, you access from the ladder right here. It's a little tricky trying to get this to stay open for friends. You kind of have to come up and open it, but every time somebody comes in, it does close a door, which is handy for your protection, but can be a little annoying when trying to get people up in it. You can look out into your cargo bay from here and open and close it from right there. Got component access here. This is your bathroom, which as far as I can see only has a toilet. You do have a razor and a toothbrush and some toothpaste. I don't know where the sink is supposed to be. This is an older ship. It is getting some love in 4.1.1. So we may see some changes for the locker or the bathroom. I know so far the one thing that is getting a big change is right here under the bed. You are getting internal storage. 1.2 million micro SCUs, so just a little over 1 SCU of internal storage. I also feel like this is one of the nicer bedrooms. You have a little potted plant there. You have a terrarium kind of thing there. I didn't mean to lay down some books. Across the way, you have your little kitchenette. You have a sink, one of the few ships that I have seen that actually has a sink. An induction cooktop. A microwave, which just needs a new light in it. Some spices and stuff. And then you got your table. And I don't know what I did, but this is the seat. It's supposed to have a interaction thing to pop it out. But after the last time I showed somebody this ship, I haven't been able to use it. Moving forward, you do have the pilot seat. Just trimmed out in some nice leather. And from here you can enter the remote turret. I don't remember. Should have looked at this before. But it does not look like there is a way to open and close the cargo bay without opening and closing everything. But you can access that remote turret right here. So when powered up, this allows you to grab cargo containers just like the little hand ones I was using earlier and load them in. Or your rock, you can load that up and put that in here if you want. The rock is purchasable in-game, 100 and something thousand credits, so not much. It's easy to earn. You do have some more components, your shields, and I think your coolers right up here. So very handy little ship. It does have a good amount of hydrogen fuel at 32.8 SCUs and a pretty healthy amount of quantum at 1.3. If you get separated from your ship, it's 3 minutes and 57 seconds to call it in. Can be expedited for 2,687 credits down to 1 minute 19 seconds. Because of all the shields, it is a pretty noisy ship when you first get it. You can get it pretty stealthy, but you have to be careful with power management because with certain components, there's only so much you can do about power management and keep your weapons up. But if you make this pretty stealthy, you could probably avoid some combat pretty well. I have fought NPCs and players in these, and it can be a really tough ship if you can fly it well. Get out and practice in it, and it can be good. At $95, it's the only ship really like it in that price bracket, and I have a hard time recommending a $95 ship to somebody who's just starting out. It's tough for me to say, yeah, go ahead and spend $95. But it's a very capable ship, very capable of doing a lot of different things. You can do bounties, you can do bunkers, you can do mining. There's a lot you can do with this ship. So if you're willing to spend $95, this can be a great way to get in and earn your way to some other ships in the game. It's not restrictive at all. Just takes a little bit of time, I think, to get used to it. the ships up from this do diverge a little bit. We have 3 ships left to go over. The first one that we're going to be going over is pretty much a dedicated kind of cargo ship, and that, the MISC Freelancer. At $125, it is a bit of a step up in price, but what it comes with that step up is also a step up in usability. You have 4 size 3 laser cannons, which from the factory gives you 1,704 DPS. Swap to attritions, you could do 2,068. You do have 8 size 3 missiles tucked up underneath on either side under the wings. And those 8 size 3 missiles can do a good amount of damage. You'll burn through them a little bit quick, but definitely something handy to have. With that, you also have 3 size 2 shield generators, so a pretty good step up in our shields, getting us 13,290 shield HP. If those go down, you have a very healthy 31,600 ship HP. So it can be a bit tanky, which is good because it loses a little bit of maneuverability because it is mainly meant as a cargo ship. You have 197 meters per second forward, boosts to 400, and outside of atmosphere and nav mode, you reach 1,010 meters per second. Your pitch yaw roll is 32-32-105. Now, while you have all that capability, it is meant more as a cargo ship. So you have nice cargo here. There is an additional turret. I did not include those numbers in the DPS, but it has 2 size 3s on it. So you can do another 1,034 DPS if you put attritions on that. So your cargo grid in here loads up. If I remember correctly, it's 3 high. It is a little tricky to get the cargo around the turret, though I will forewarn on that. If you stack it full, it wants to catch on that. So it can be a little tricky to unload it. But you have cargo here. I don't remember the exact number deep, but it's 2 wide, 3 tall, and from here to there. You also have in here 2 wide, 3 tall. You do have to try to get it through this door, which can be a little tricky to be able to load the cargo. With this fully loaded, you can't get by the cargo. The handy thing is you also do have an entrance right here. You have a little drop down ladder that'll bring you up in here. This is the crew quarters. Left the door open from the last time I showed this ship. But here's your little hot water, little food rehydrator setup kitchen. You got a couple of towels down there, which I think is neat. You got some cups. Across the way is the bathroom. You got a shower. The toilet doesn't pop out right now, but you do have your sink and all, so you have the basic amenities. And you do have 4 beds because you do have spot for 4 crew members, a pilot and 3 additional crew members. I don't really know what they do beyond maybe some power management. MISC does like these big old letterbox windows. As you get into the bigger ship, you get a lot more windows like this, unfortunately. Still pretty viewable. I've had this ship out in some combat situations and I can see pretty well. As a big old freighter, though, you do have a very healthy amount of fuel. You have 108 SCUs of hydrogen and 1.8 of quantum fuel, so you can get quite far. This ship is, as you can see from all the floaty buttons, it has not had all of its final passes yet. Components are out here, but you don't have internal storage. There is none yet. Now, I do see some spots they can potentially add it, potentially below the beds. Perhaps in the hallway, who knows? But there's no internal storage yet. So you are just limited to whatever you put in here. You cannot put the rock in here. It is too wide. You can put a geo in here. So you can get out and do some mining with this if you wanted to. But it is primarily meant as a cargo vessel. You can do some bounties in it. It's not super maneuverable, but it can be stealth pretty decently. You can get it pretty low in terms of its signatures and get out and do some combat. You can do bunkers in it. The nice thing is with 66 SCUs of cargo, you mainly are going to be using this to make money via cargo. Some bounties do have cargo that you can loot from them, so it is a good bounty vessel. All around, I think it's a pretty useful ship. It's just a little bit sluggish. It doesn't fly that well. Unlike its competitor, Oh, I almost forgot to mention call-in time. Call-in time on this 12 minutes 59 seconds. If you expedite it for 6,503 credits, you will get it down to 4 minutes and 19 seconds. And now on to its competitor. The Drake Cutlass Black, also $125, also with 3 size 3 weapons. Now stock, this does a little bit less DPS at 1200, and that is due to 2 size 3 ballistic cannons, 2 size 3 laser repeaters, but also if you upgrade this with attritions, you're going to hit 2068 DPS. It's a little bit smaller than the Freelancer. It is a bit faster than the Freelancer. But we're going to go first with our shields. It has 1 size 2 shield generators. You do have less shields. 4,130 is the factory shield HP. And there is also a turret up top here, so you can add another 1,034 DPS if you have somebody in that turret. Ship HP, if you lose that shield generator, is 29,762, so not much less. You do have the outside engine pods, so those can take damage and send you into a spin, but it's a bit more nimble. It's a bit faster than the Freelancer. 217 meters per second forward, 465 boosted, and of course outside of atmosphere you can reach 1,150 meters per second in nav mode. Your pitch yaw roll is a little bit better, 47, 39, 137. So this is a ship you kind of want to roll and pitch to get your most maneuverability out of it. Inside, you do have 46 SCUs of cargo space. And the cargo grid is a little bit unique in that it's going to have a two deep, 1 wide, 2 tall that can fit here. And the rest of the cargo grid is in here, so 42 of it sits here. I don't remember the exact layout, but it's a pretty healthy cargo grid. You can also fit the rock in here, the little mining ship we showed you with the Nomad. You can also fit the geos, and one fun thing, and I tested this out, that little opening there, if you jump it just right, you can actually jump geos into the sides, because they have jump jets on them. It's kind of fun. So you can go out mining with some friends in here, put a bunch of those little ore pods in here. This can also be used as a drop ship. It's got 6 jump seats right here, 3 on either side. So you can put a good number of buddies and go do bunkers, and everybody can have their own storage container for loot. Very, very handy, very versatile multi-role ship. As we move forward, you get into the crew quarters as the older style weapons rack, but still holds a good amount of stuff. You do have 2 beds, and here's the seat for the turret. Oh, I did forget to show this. The Freelancer doesn't have one of these, but this does have a tractor turret just like on the Nomad. So you can load it up. It doesn't have the best view angle. It pretty much has to be straight out the back, but you can load and unload pretty easily. Moving forward, in each of these, you have 1.5 million micro SCUs, so 1.5 SCUs in each of these, which is a really good amount of internal storage. And then we move forward, you have a co-pilot seat, goes up. The co-pilot controls that tractor turret in the back. The pilot seat and the co-pilot seat both go up, which gets you a little bit better view, allows you access to those windows there. Very nice view out. Your fuel on this is 36 SCUs of hydrogen, 1.8 of quantum fuel. So you can do a lot of adventuring in this. I have had an in-game version of this before. I got it when I first started as a subscriber ship, and I bought this one pretty early on with in-game credits. It's kind of a mini version of the ship that I normally drive. So it can be really good. It can be actually made a lot stealthier than the Freelancer, and it brings it down to about where I have my Intrepid out. So for a ship of its combat capabilities, it's capable of quite a bit of stealth. How you kit it out is going to determine your signature rates on this. If you get separated from your ship, it has a 9-minute, 59-second call-in. which can be expedited for 6,251 credits down to 3 minutes and 19 seconds. Between the two $125 ships, I often will recommend the Cutlass Black. Oh, I did forget to mention the missiles. Those are the headlights. Missiles on this are 8 size 2s and 8 size 3s, so it's got a lot of missiles. Between the two $125 ships, it's really going to come down to what do you want to do. These don't currently function yet, but hopefully they'll. I just saw that said tractor on that. I hadn't actually read that before. Hopefully that'll come up with something in the future. But between the two $125 ships, it's going to come down to what you want to do. Do you want to do more cargo with some ability to do bounties and bunkers? The Freelancer is going to be your better bet. Do you want to do more ship-to-ship combat, do bounties, gather up some cargo from the enemies that you down, be able to do bunkers, go out and do more mining capability with a rock or a geo? The Cutlass Black is definitely the more versatile ship. It's not as tanky, but it's smaller, it's a bit more nimble, it flies better. Honestly, I really like this ship. And I could recommend it hands down. It's a great ship. Comes down to a little bit the design that you like and what you want to do. But they are kind of expensive at $125. So if you're not real keen on spending that much money, and these may not be the ships for you, and you could definitely go with something lower and earn up to these in the game. They're like 1.5 to 2.5 million credits, which is pretty attainable pretty easily. I am going to go over one more ship. I'm not going over all the game packages just because the last one, and we'll discuss it after the next ship. But the last one I can't really recommend. But the last game patch we're going to go over includes the $275 RSI Constellation Andromeda, which this is not it. This is the sister ship to Taurus. I'm going to use this because I don't have an Andromeda and did not want to spend the 11, 12, I can't remember how many million credits on it. This is my daily driver. It's very similar with very small differences. Well, kind of small. And I will kind of go over it the same way that I would for the Andromeda. But at $275, you get 4 size 5 weapons, giving you 2,396 DPS, which if you swap those to attritions, that'll take you to 4,936 DPS. And they're here on each of the engine nacelles. And it's the same on the Andromeda. The big difference in the Andromeda versus the Taurus is going to be here and on top, there are turrets. They are manned turrets. In the Andromeda, each one has 2 size 3s, which come with laser repeaters stock, which gives you a little over the 1,200 DPS. I can't remember the actual number. But will, with attritions, give you an additional 2,068 DPS, which is really handy. You just have to have somebody in each of them. For the Taurus, this is actually a tractor turret, so it allows you to load your cargo bay. The Andromeda comes with 28 size 1 missiles, 24 size 2 missiles, which is more than my ship does come with. But that's a really healthy amount of missiles, and you can do some serious damage. Missiles are a little expensive in the game, though, so be careful what you choose to use them on. It has 1 size 3 generator, which from the factory is 48,800 quadrant shield. So this, if you were to take a sphere and cut it into 4, is how this works. So you have 1 here, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and it divides that 48,800 up. So what is that, 12,000, 1,200 shield per side. So you kind of got to rotate through when you're fighting, kind of spin around so they don't just tag you on one side. If you lose your shields, you have 180,644 ship HP, which will go down surprisingly fast with some of these ships. When you consider that the Andromeda is capable of near 7,000 damage per second, that is not too long to take down another ship.
Your speeds 200 meters per second forward, boosts to 400. Outside of atmosphere in nav mode, you can do 1000 meters per second. Your pitch yaw roll is 30, 30, 60. Now, a couple of the differences in the Taurus back here. You would actually have a little snub fighter ship that docks right here. On the Taurus, you do not have that. You have some additional cargo bay. I really wish it would just be the ship because it's kind of unusable cargo space. Moving back towards the front is the cargo bay. Now on the Taurus, it is much larger than on the Andromeda. The Andromeda gives you 96 SCUs, so it would stop somewhere, I think, along right about here. I think it only has 2 of the drop-down struts. But it's still a healthy amount of cargo. The Taurus is 168 down here. You can definitely fit the rock in here. I've actually had 3 rocks. You can fit a bunch of geos. You could fit several different vehicles in here. So this is a very versatile ship. When you have the Andromeda, you won't be able to fit quite as much because of the smaller cargo bay, but you can still definitely fit a rock, a medical or a little ambulance kind of truck for doing bunkers. The Andromeda can do cargo. I mean, 96 is still a very healthy amount of cargo. Just don't know if I would spend $275 to run it as a cargo ship. In the back, you do have exposed missile racks, which is kind of neat. I believe the Andromeda has a second one. Again, I don't have it, and it's been a minute since I've been on one. This is your engineering, where most of your components will live once it gets its upgrades and passes on that. And in the Andromeda, this is where you would access. You'd have the cockpit of the ship right here. It's a P-58 or P-78. It's a little no quantum drive jump ship, but yeah. So you'd have less catwalk and all in the Andromeda. As you move forward, you get into the crew quarters. So you do have 4 beds. You do have a bunch of lockers. Now this does have 5,250,000, so just over about 5.25 SCUs of storage between the 5 lockers. You do have 2 weapons racks. You have a bathroom with a shower, and that's it. The toilet and the sink don't exist right now. You do have a table, which you can fit 3 people at. I won't sit down in it because I can get kind of stuck in it. You have to look at the table and exit to the side to get out. So we're just going to leave that be. As you move forward, you do have access to the upper and lower turrets. On my ship, only the upper one is a gun turret. And then you have, as I was talking with the Aurora, the infamous RSI support struts for the windows. It gets a little annoying when ships are right here because they get blocked by the struts, but otherwise it's a pretty decent view. I would love to see them clean it up a little bit. In terms of fuel, you have 66 SCUs of hydrogen, so you can explore quite a bit. You get 4.1 SKUs of quantum fuel. You do have another entrance exit right here. Which means you can fly around just about everywhere and not have to fuel up super often. Call-in time, if you do get separated from your ship, 13 minutes 30 seconds. You can expedite it for 6,750 credits down to 4 minutes 30 seconds. Your signals are pretty high, and even if you put a bunch of stealth components, which I do have a bunch on my ship, it's still going to be visible from quite a distance away. It's not a little ship. There's no stealthing this thing out fully. You can just reduce the amount of signature that you have. You can get it possibly even stealthier than I have it. I run it the way that I do just in case. I have 2 coolers. You can reduce it to 1 cooler. All in all, I think the Andromeda is a good ship. I wanted something that was more capable of cargo for running things, just because of the way that I like to play. I like to do bounties and loot the bounties, and I like to do cargo, and this is a great all-arounder ship. This is also an aftermarket paint. $275 though is a lot to spend, especially if you're not terribly certain if you're gonna like the ship or if you haven't done much in terms of the free fly events. If you're not certain you're gonna terribly like the game, as you do have a 30-day like return window, but it's kind of hard to pay $275 not being 100% sure. What I would say is if you are thinking of something like the Andromeda, start with the lower package. You can always upgrade to the Andromeda if you want to, or buy it in game. That's the real nice thing with this game. You can earn credits in game. You can upgrade your ships. You can actually just go in and it'll upgrade the whole hull of the ship. This started life as another Intrepid. I had actually bought a second Intrepid so that I had the LTI insurance, which who knows how much of a difference that's going to be. But this is actually an upgraded Intrepid. That's kind of how I did it. I did a little bit of a CCU chain. I managed to save like 20 bucks. This ship on its own from the pledge store is 200 bucks. So yeah, I was able to save a little bit of money and get it to, get it up to this ship, and I daily drive this thing. And that's a handy thing. There's a lot of things you can do to get to where you want. There is one game package past this, and it's the exploration package. It's like $1,100. It comes with 4 ships, a couple of ground ships. It comes with the Pisces and a bunch of other stuff. If you have $1,100 to spend, they're not bad ships in that package. It's the Carrack, I think it's the 400i, something like that from Origin. There's a few other ships. There's a hover bike. There's a bunch of things in it. I would have a really, really hard time recommending an $1,100 game package to a new player. I would have a hard time recommending an $1,100 game package to anyone that's been playing for a while. Yes, you're helping to fund the development of a game, which is great. And yeah, I know some people have spent a lot more than that on games like Fortnite. So at least you're getting something for your money, getting some different playstyles, different ability, different stuff. A lot of these are in landing takeoff mode, so these do close up. But my recommendation would be not to generally go past about the $60 mark. Pay for a standard style game. If you decide you want to upgrade, you can upgrade. We all buy $60 games semi-regularly, so get in with an Aurora at 45 or the Cutter at 60. If you're feeling a little bit more willing to spend, the Titan or the Intrepid are great. The Nomad, I wouldn't go much past that unless you really want to jump into like the Cutlass Black or the Freelancer. Those are great ships. I wouldn't buy one of the fighter ships. The Golem, I really enjoy it, but it's kind of limited in what it can do. But these are the starter ships. It gives you a good idea, I think, of what you're going to be facing, what you're going to be getting into. Start low, upgrade. You can always do what we call melting it, which you turn it into store credit, and you can buy a different pack if something comes out that's more interesting to you later. It's one of the wonderful things is this is going to continue to get different. The ships are going to get better. We're going to have a lot of things to do. Most important thing is getting into the game if you want to try it out and finding the way you like to play and building your fleet up to fit your play style or styles. I have multiple, so I have several ships that I regularly use now. But I hope this was informative. If you do like it, if you appreciated it, please give me a thumbs up. This is my first YouTube video in a very long time. Been doing more Twitch stuff. If you want to check out how I play, the things that I do stream Friday nights from 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. Pacific time over on Twitch. It's also Kaivari over there. If you are first getting into Star Citizen, I will have my referral code down in the description so that if you choose to use it, you get 5,000 credits extra up until July this year. They're going to revamp the whole referral program. And I do get some points that can get me some in-game giveaways as well. So we both get a little bit of kickback on it, and it is appreciated. And hope to just see you out in the verse. Thanks. Have fun, citizen.